Yes, it is an honor to be here. So, I really like to consider myself a connector. And I had to land there because with my businesses, I do a lot. And so I used to get kind of jammed up trying to figure out, well, which one do I lead with and what do I talk about? So I really just say I'm a connector and I connect people to resources, to other things that they need in order to succeed. And I really help, especially women and girls, to be able to transform barriers into opportunities to heal and be empowered.
Welcome, everyone, to the Self Care Your Way to Success podcast, where we have Liletta Harlem today as our special guest. Tell us a little more about yourself and your business, Ms.
Y-
Harlem.
Yes, it is an honor to be here. So I really like to consider myself a connector. And I had to land there because with my businesses, I do a lot. And so I used to get kind of jammed up trying to figure out, well, which one do I lead with and what do I talk about? So I really just say I'm a connector and I connect people to resources, to other things that they need in order to succeed. And I really help, especially women and girls, to be able to transform barriers into opportunities to heal and be empowered. And I do that through a number of ways. I have a business company that actually connects entrepreneurs to resources and a network for growth. And then I also have a nonprofit organization where we have four signature programs that are all about connecting women and girls to what they need to thrive and overcome some of those challenges in life. And then individually, I'm an author and a speaker. And again, that's how I really connect people to learn how to overcome just a lot of the trauma that they've gone through in life.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You wear many hats and you dabble in a lot of different talents. I love the mission for what you do to get out and connect women and girls with the resources that normally wouldn't be readily available to them. You
Right.
know, I can glean that you are working with within certain communities as well, people who would need a little more support in that area as well, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that comes from kind of our own journey, right? And so early on, I learned that one of the things that is a barrier for a lot of people is a lack of access, a lack of opportunity, and misperception. And so, myself growing up in low income housing in a rough neighborhood, I experienced that. And I saw firsthand what it was like to not have access, not have opportunity, not have a good perception of myself, or others have a perception of our family and things like that because we were on government assistance. And so as I overcame that and I went through my own journey of healing and growth and all of that, I felt that I was obligated to turn around and help the next generation coming up, some of these disadvantaged generations and communities be able to get access, to get opportunities, and to change the perception for themselves and what other people may have for them.
Absolutely. Could you tell us more about some of your authorship and the books that you have created, book or
Yeah.
books?
Yes, so I have, I believe it's six published works, and all of them have been primarily about how to, as I said, move out of your own way, with the exception of my first book. So, my very first book, which still just holds such a special place for me in my heart, it's called Celebrating a Legacy of Courage and Resolve. And it really was the stories of my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother and their journey. My grandmother went through the Great Depression. When she passed away, she was 99, like, and that was a couple years ago. So she lived a
Mhm.
full life. But my mom and my aunt, they'd gone through a lot. My aunt had been a victim of abuse. She'd had her first child at 12. And so there was just so much. And one day, I was just watching my grandmother, and she was at the time, I think 96 or 97, and she had fallen. And they had told her that if she didn't do her physical therapy, she may not walk again. Now, some people at 96, 97 might have said, well, you know what? I've lived a good life. If I don't walk, I'm not about to put myself through this physical therapy pain. My grandmother said, absolutely not walk. Are you kidding me? And she was doing her physical therapy. I mean, some people know if they follow me on social media, I have one video where my grandmother was twerking, honey. Okay. And I remember watching her go through this pain of physical therapy, determined that she was not going to just give up. And it was in that moment that I just thought about her, my mom, and my aunt. And I was like, you know what? They may not have legacy, what most people would consider legacy, like millions of dollars and land and all of this. But when I thought about the legacy that they have passed on of courage, of grit, of exactly what I was seeing in my grandmother, I just had this moment where I said, I have to write about this. And I was
Yeah.
so thankful because I was able to write about it and give them like a little photo shoot and actually interview each one of them. Even though I had grown up hearing stories, to be able to sit down and pour honor over their experiences, even with my aunt, with what she went through, being I mean, you can't really even say a teen mom, right? Like abuse and all of that, and to pour honor and dignity over how she overcame that. And even though my grandmother and my aunt are now both deceased, and my mom actually is living with Alzheimer's, at the time they were able to be alive and experience the celebration of their legacy. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
Those are just the kind of jewels and the values you can't buy. Like, it's so wonderful to me when I get to hear women speak so highly of the lineage of women who have come before them, and
Hmm.
to be able to find those type of people being directly in your lineage is amazing, because it's so good for your confidence. And so you having those great examples of strength, resilience, and camaraderie at a young age,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it plays such a huge role in just potential for success. Yeah.
Right. And even with those stories, like you were saying, again, obviously when you go through some of those things, you could spin it and look at it in a more negative light, right? Like you could, because certainly even when you go through my book, there's things that I do share of when, my mom being depressed and raising us. And, at one point she even got locked up, so I talk about the quote ugly, but I always say, like, even when I speak, I just very strongly dislike the expression generational curse, because a curse, right, is so permanent,
Yeah.
so ugly. And what I like to say is, our ancestors, these women, they were surviving and they were figuring out how to get through the hand that was dealt to them. So I don't look at it as a curse. I look at it as survival techniques that we can learn from, and we can change the story for ourselves, right? We're not cursed. We're blessed, right? We're blessed that they left us this legacy of resilience and fight and grit and all of that.
You have to be in an emotionally and mentally healthy space to be able to have a certain level of gratitude for what people have brought before you,
Mm,
and the foundation and the layers that they have laid. Because like you said, it all depends on what is your thought process regarding
yeah,
your upbringing. How
yeah.
do you value it? How do you place it? What is the framework that you're using, for
Yeah,
your expression, and how it and what it means to you. I
yeah.
had to get to a place where I could offer empathy, sympathy, and compassion
Mm.
towards my parents for their humanity.
Ooh,
You know
ooh,
what I
that's
mean?
good.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
their
that's
humanity,
good.
because they literally, your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, they did what they could with what they had.
Yes.
And they did their best with it. I can tell based on the product right here,
Right.
And
Right.
so I think more people need to think from that framework, especially Black people, especially
Yeah.
Black women, and especially entrepreneurs,
Yes.
because it's good for our mental health. We
Yeah.
have to find that gratitude. We have to find that silver lining, even in some dark clouds. Because I know I haven't had the same experience of a lot of people, but
Right.
there's some grain of positivity or something that could be used to fuel positive momentum, a positive shift, and success. Always, there's
Yes.
always something there.
Yeah, I like it.
I was inspired by what you said.
I love it.
I'm all about mindset and
Yeah.
self care, and just doing that mental work, and that even getting into those gray areas and those dark spaces and just really getting work done, the emotional and spiritual work done. What role has your mental and spiritual self-care played in your level of success and your ambition and the type of goals that you set for yourself in your business?
So, anyone who knows me knows that I am big on therapy. I feel like for me, it has been life-saving. And so, even when you were talking, I was thinking about something that my therapist said years ago, and that was that you wrap things with truth and gratitude. And often, even when we talk about entrepreneurship, I think sometimes what happens is that we think we can separate the mental health aspect and the stuff, right, from the entrepreneur. And so we show up on these in these spaces, on these stages, and we're commanding the audience and we're doing all that, but we are still that person who experienced things, right? Some ugly things. And the for me, what has been key is therapy. And I'm not saying that it's just every day for the rest of your life, but having that as a tool, right? Knowing that, okay, I'm in a certain situation, dealing with some challenges. Let me talk to someone. Often we
Absolutely.
know the answers, right? But sometimes we're so clouded by just the pain or the blocks that we need someone to help us dig and get those answers. And so for me, that has been the biggest thing as an entrepreneur, an author, all these things. It's really being able to work out my stuff and wrap it with truth and gratitude. And then I can show up for everyone else.
Absolutely. I was just at this at the Embrace retreat at the Embrace Resort at Staniel Cay in the Bahamas. And one of the main themes for the retreat was filling your cup first,
Mm,
sorting through those things that are eventually going to come back up if you don't go and dig for them.
right.
So, what has been a time where you might have had a difficult moment with balancing everything and maybe have experienced burnout? And then what did you do to like recover or push get yourself back into like a healthy and balanced mental space?
So, as I mentioned earlier, my mom is living with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And when she was first diagnosed, oh my goodness, it was hard. It was really hard. And it's still hard.
Yeah.
But for me, I believe about the adage, knowledge is power. And so anything that I have to tackle, which is honestly how I was able to start writing books and all of that, because I had to understand. Even when I went through major depression and wanted to end my life, I had to learn what was going on. I had to get the knowledge. And so with my mom and this diagnosis, I went full in from certifications to even temporarily working at an assisted living home in the memory care. I needed to know and understand and live it. But I'll tell you, that has been one of the hardest things in life. And I've gone through a lot, but just that piece of it has been very challenging because it is seeing this strong person become different and your
Yeah.
role changes. And you're an entrepreneur and and I'm a wife and I do all these things, but I have to really change this relationship that in itself has so many layers, right? So for me,
Yeah.
that's been one of the hardest times. And honestly, there's been times where I just had to stop. I just had to stop. I had to pause. I had to get therapy. I had to talk to my doctor and say, listen, I'm not in a depressive state, but I know I need to get some help because I know I don't have, I'm not able to pull tools for this one. Like this is brand new. I don't really know what tools to grab, right? I
Yeah.
know how to deal with like toxic relationships and things like that, but I'm like, I don't know what to even grab for this. And so
Yeah.
that's how I've gotten through it, going to the professionals, talking about it, educating myself, and learning when I just have to take that break. And if that means an event has to get canceled, if that means that I have probably about four more books in the pipeline, but they had to
Yeah.
kind of stop, right? I could only do a little at a time. And I had to say, you know what? It's okay if I said it was going to be out spring 25, but it's not going to be out spring 25. So what? Who cares? Right? I had to learn I have to take care of me. And especially because this is new territory, for me, this was one of those times.
Yeah, that's a lot to carry. That's a lot to have to pivot into all at once.
Yeah.
And what I hear when I listen to you speak about it is that there were even parts of self-care outside of like the actual
Mhm.
physical parts. There was a lot of like decision making and reprioritizing things that you had to
Yes.
do to put yourself first in your healing and also to prioritize your mom. And what I hear is releasing that perfectionism that a lot of us carry
Yes.
for your sanity, releasing it like,
Yes.
hey, I can't show up in the way I normally have right now
Right.
because I'm carrying something heavy, and
Right.
it's a heavy load. And then what I also hear is just prioritizing family, healing, your rest,
Yes.
taking help as self-care. Just
Right.
so many different layers. I hear that in there, and it's amazing and it's wonderful that you were self-aware enough and just connected. We're gonna get right back to the talk, but I want to offer you a free gift. I know. No, it's actually free. Like you don't have to pay anything. There's no shipping and handling or no processing fee. Literally, all you have to do is click the link, download the Self Care Your Way to Success Chakra Alignment Journal, and start journaling and start your path to wellness. It's going to help you get aligned in mind, body, and spirit, help you organize your entrepreneurial goals, and help you get back centered and fill your cup so you can pour back into the communities that you serve. So click the link, download your free copy of Self Care to Success Chakra Alignment Journal, and then give me some feedback. Let me know what you want to see in this journal because this is the cool part about the virtual journal. As I add more to it, you get the updates. So, no, you'll never have to buy another journal. You'll never have to download another version of it. You're going to get all of the updates as the new editions come out. And this is like my gift back to humanity. This is my gift back to the almost 600 women who have joined in solidarity to support the success of this podcast. And I want to see you all prioritizing your self-care. So click the link, get your self-care journal, and let's get back to this talk with this wonderful, wonderful woman in business. Into everything in the way you're feeling and just tapped into realizing that shift and that change to be able to say, hey, okay, this is where I have to pump the brakes. Because
Right.
a lot of us can get into that on the hamster wheel, and we're just so
Mm.
out of touch and disconnected from ourselves that we
Yeah.
can't even tell where's that stopping point before it goes too far.
Something else I'd like to add. Most of us in the entrepreneurial world, especially powerhouse women like ourselves, right? We do become expert in our businesses, right? We are the expert. Often we kind of carry that in different aspects of life. But recently, another woman that I respect, another entrepreneur said to me, if you were taking your mom like to a home or a hospital or anything like that, and she needed medical care, would you hire you to be the person to do that?
Mm.
And I was like, no, because yes, they won't love her like I do, but I'm not qualified to take care of someone that's living with this. I mean, I love her with everything, but I'm not qualified. And it was that moment that just released it for me. It was like, I'm okay with whatever decisions have to be made. I'm okay with transferring authority and tapping into other resources. I can't take it all on. I'm not qualified to do that. And so I
Yeah,
would say my message to other entrepreneurs, it may not be as heavy as a parent, right? But step
yeah,
back. You don't have to be the expert on every single aspect of life. And we
yeah,
think we do, right? We think we have to be the expert in this. No, you're not. And you're not going to be. Pick one or two things, be expert at that, and let the rest go.
yeah, absolutely. Just release control. It's okay.
That's it.
It's going to work.
That's it. And it's
Just
so
release it.
free. Even
It's,
yeah, with my
yeah,
business my business company, we have an annual conference. And last year was just we really struggled to pull it off. And it turned out great, but it was just financially, it didn't really do what it needed to do, and it was very taxing. And so I was talking to my team, and I said, you know what? It's out. We're not doing that this year. And they were like, what? Who cares? We'll find another way, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my mental health, my emotional health, and even my financial health at this point to prove a point that I did it for what? So I think that's a big lesson, right? Let stuff go, transfer to experts where you can. And if you need to say it's not going to happen this year, then
It's
say,
okay. Things come back around. It's never too late to go back into your stockpile of ideas
that's
and
right.
talents. And knowing what to do is just as important as knowing what not to do. What just are some things or advice that you would share for new entrepreneurs? Just like a nugget of wisdom that you think everyone, even myself, like in the audience, could benefit from carrying with them throughout their journey.
You know, honestly, I think it does go back to the mental health. I think I can't stress that enough, and that is to prioritize your mental health. Because when that goes, it will impact you physically. At 24 started off, and again, these are lessons I've learned throughout my journey, but I'm still learning them. I went into 23 ended where I was grinding. So I go into 24, grinding. And next thing you know, I had to get an emergency surgery to have my appendix removed. Like they barely caught it from a complete, could have been fatal. And
Yeah.
the kind of, they joked with me in the hospital later on because they're like, normally this happens like a person who's maybe like, in their early 20s. Like this is like an earlier in life thing that happens.
Yeah.
Unless you're under a lot of stress and
Mhm.
extreme stress and blah. And I was like, so that is my advice, especially. And like I said, I mean, I'm seasoned in entrepreneurship, and I had to remind myself, prioritize your mental health, which will trickle into your physical health. You are no good to anyone if you are not well. It's just that all the ideas, the creativity, the boss babe power, all the titles. But if you are not well, you are no good to anyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. We have to start with the foundation. We have to start with the source. And we have to do it daily. It's not like a one-stop shop. Like you said, how as time goes, you're learning things, you're continually learning, you're being a student of
Yeah.
life. And I think that's where we have to have the realization that there's never really like this destination. They're just milestones.
Right.
And
Oh, yes.
yeah, and we're like, once we arrive, okay, it's like the new level starts.
Yeah.
I don't really know any other way to just kind of
I
put it
like
in plain
that.
language, but yeah,
Yeah.
we have to be a student of life, and definitely prioritizing self-care and mental health, mind, body, spirit, the network
Yeah.
that you keep. So thank you for sharing
Yes.
that. What can we expect from you in the upcoming months, like throughout 2025?
Yes.
Where the audience can support you, definitely for like any new projects you're coming out with, or
I have so many exciting things, and I'm having to remind myself to just go on. But I would say the biggest thing that will be of support is going to be in my nonprofit organization. As I mentioned, we have four programs, and one of our programs focuses on overall women's health. And we have a pillar that, and I'm so excited about this, it is the Aging Without Judgment movement. And I'm so excited about this because as we age, as we grow older, going through perimenopause, which I'm currently, that's a whole nother topic, right? But what I've learned is that there's so much pressure, just the process. And, even you can see celebrities, during these different award ceremonies, right? And, the comments, she's too old for that and she needs to let that go. And then you have the expression aging gracefully. And I'm telling you, one day I was like, forget that. What is aging gracefully? So if one person has wrinkles and the next person doesn't, the person without the wrinkles, that was graceful. So there's all these messages that put this added pressure on us as women. And so my new movement, I've got products, I've got a book coming out. It's all about aging without judgment. Listen, when the more you live, the more you go through, and that's going to impact you one way or the other. Somebody
Absolutely.
said to me, "Girl, you look so good." Well, 50 is the new 30. No, it's not.
It's
50 is
not as
no
pretty.
50 is not the new 30.
You're
50
like,
has ever been a
no, it's
50.
not.
It is 50, right? And so we got to get away from all these things. We don't have to, change ourselves
Mm,
and look a certain way. And
yeah,
I still, you don't look your age. Well, what does that mean? So somebody who just genetically, maybe they gray earlier or their skin wrinkles quicker. Does that mean that they don't that they somehow look a different age? Like we just got to get out of that. So I would love for your supporters to follow my nonprofit organization, which is My Natural Me, and you will see the program there. And as I said, as we're pushing this out, launching it, I'm excited for just what's going to come around accepting who we are. Let's get rid of the judgment and the words that create so much judgment. Let's just live and age without judgment.
absolutely. Everything that you said makes absolute sense. And
Yeah.
there's so much societal pressure. Women, just before we even get to like the core of who people are, just our outward appearance. There's just so
Yeah.
much debate and just ageism and just sexism and so many isms.
Yes,
It's
it's so true.
exhausting.
I remember I went to a workshop one time. This was years ago. And this presenter basically did like a sped up version of like commercials and everything. Like if you woke up and you turned on the TV at 8 o'clock and from 8 to 9:30, everything that you would watch, like to watch the morning news. And they did this sped up version and they showed that by 9 o'clock a.m., if you started at 8, you will have been exposed to 1,000 messages that could leave you feeling doubtful about who you are, from the makeup
Oh my
commercials, from the wording, from all. And I was like, from even the newscasters themselves and the images that we see, right? Think about
Yeah.
that. In 1 hour, you are potentially exposed to 1,000 messages that can make you doubt who you are and doubt loving yourself. That's just 1 hour. So
Mm.
we can't do too much to undo this message, right? And to take the pressure off of women. And don't even get me started on women of color. Don't even, that's a whole nother topic, right? But we're
Oh my God.
constantly getting just bombarded with messaging that we're not enough, that we're not good enough, that we have to somehow change who we are, how we speak, and all these things to be some pretend level of accepted. And I refuse to buy into that.
Absolutely. I refuse to too. Like some days I want to have makeup. Some days I want black hair. Some days I want
Yeah,
blonde hair. Some days I
yeah,
might want to bare face. I have to do what is within my comfort,
come on.
and what has become within my comfort is other people having to carry their judgments of what they feel about me and the way I present. The psychology in that alone is just
Right, right. And
it's
I mean,
crazy.
I could, when I say I can go on, like, and so I was on a interview the other day and someone was like, what's a tool that you have a love-hate relationship with? And I'll say it every time, it's social media. I love it.
Hmm.
I get a lot of business from social media, the different,
Yep.
but I hate it because the pressure, and the fact that just because someone is a celebrity, they deserve to be, put down and mistreated and talked bad about. I hate it. And look at
Yeah.
different celebrities who have ended their life from the pressure of social media,
Absolutely.
and so that's if again, going back to your question, if I could encourage just each woman to embrace who they are, age or grow, whatever terminology you want to put, do it without judgment. As you mentioned, if you want to be gray. If you want to do like I do, and this is my red auburn season. I don't know how long it's going to be, but that's what's going to be. And
Exactly.
I'm good with that, right? Like
Exactly.
embrace
Yeah.
whatever is important to you in the season that you're in, and it's okay, like seasons, to change.
It's okay. Thank you. I appreciate you being a guest today.
Oh, this has been
Could
a
you?
treat.
It has.
So, really, you can find everything through my name. So, it's Liletta Harlem, Harlem. My personal website is liletaharlem.com. My social media, and of course, I have a lot of different channels, but if you start at the Liletta Harlem one, it'll link you to the nonprofit and some of the other things that I'm doing. So, Liletta Harlem, if you want to go straight to the nonprofit organization, it's My Natural Me org. And no, it has nothing to do with natural hair. No, it is based on loving ourselves naturally without the labels, the tags, and all of that. Can we look at ourselves and say, I love you without feeling like we have obligation to someone else? And so it's mynaturalme.org.
Awesome. I definitely will be connecting with you.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much. Thank you for this platform and thank you for allowing me to come on here and share space with you. I thank you so much.
thank you. Good evening.
Bye.